Never try to think for me again. You are a child. Strange.
Chartrulean fire.
I don't need you toying.
It could be utterly catastrophic.
The fact that you have to use fear to manipulate people proves that you've already
advantages. And we're nearing the end.
Now stop us and watch us swallow by the light.
He's a cage.
It is said not every obstacle that's faced can be overcome. But nothing can be overcome if no obstacles exist. Such obstacles have tested humanity's resolve through all of history. Be it by luck or grand design, sometimes we pass the test. Other times we fail. But despite those failings, we persevere and are reminded of the frailty of our being and the facades we wear in spite of it. What follows are the events that marked the end of the Long War and the beginning of the Age of Azure.
The mother of all power.
The story begins on Arcus, a planet mired in existential threats, home to both men and supermen. Arcus's gods are as real as its inhabitants, who walk on soil as broken as their spirits. Prior to the events of this story, Arcasians long upheld the facade of a unified planetary society. It was built on the promise that our proximity to the star makers alone would ensure evolution. But the darker aspects of our nature manifested in the shadow of that facade. Avarice seeped through its cracks, fueled by fear and intensified by the inevitable death of our planet.
Our world is a remnant of its former self.
Eventually, the facade fell away completely. The truth laid bare for all to see. Humanity would eventually perish.
First go the plants, then the animals, then the oceans, then eventually us.
The fallout of this realization was swift and violent. In a series of upheavals, our ancestral knowledge was nearly lost, and the world was split into the old way and the new. The old with their awakened minds and messiahs, and the new with power-hungry men and systems of control. The establishment of the Starbringer dynasty was a shallow attempt at unity.
Will we just take these problems along with us, or can they die?
The kings looked to the stars to save us from the blight and found it. Off-world resources delayed our exodus, but prosperity deluded the minds of many. The wise abandoned the greedy, the rich abandoned the poor. So-called desirables wreaked havoc on the bloodlines of those less desirable.
Every war in Arcasian history has happened because of the Jardic.
Those wars happen because of the fear and ignorance of others.
Just as a civil uprising was about to erupt, a new foe appeared. The Rao, a vagrant humanoid race from another world led by a ruthless demagogue. The Rao sought to build an all-powerful galactic empire, their massive armada built to conquer everything in its path. And so the Long War began, playing out over centuries and spanning great distances.
A war that has threatened progress for both of our people.
Then one day, it stopped.
What exactly happened that day?
Chaos.
This story chronicles what happened in the aftermath of that day. It is a story about gods, good men, and the devil they call progress. And it is a story about humanity, the witless masses, the brave, and the divine. But at the core, it's the story of a man at war with himself, a man who walked through the gates of perception at the edge of the human experience, and the calamity that followed him back in. It is the amalgamation of personal accounts, and is as reliable as those who experience these events firsthand. But as with all such stories, the true ending might emerge over the course of centuries, if not millennia, as the full story comes into focus. Heroes, villains, victims and martyrs, all the same, until the dust settles and their stories are footnotes in the pages of the final iteration. This is the Madness of Chartrulean.
Will this world accept my vision of the future? Or is all of this a mistake?